Hey kids, welcome to Lesson 10, Building an App, Color Sleuth Introduction, Planing an App. I'm going to walk you through the several phases of development for an app that uses if statements and conditionals in various ways. The goal is to follow a creative process from beginning to end to see how many ideas come to life, as well as to use your new knowledge of if statements. To do this, we will follow a discussion between two characters, Michael and Alexis, who work together to share ideas about how to design the app and write the code. Of course, you'll be the one actually writing the code, but following Michael and Alex will give you the insight into the development process. In short, what this lesson is also trying to teach you is how out in the real world app developers might approach a problem and actually discuss it. Let's see what they have to say. Michael, hey Alexis, I want to make an app. Can you help me think through it? Maybe be my partner? Alexis, of course, happy to. What have you got? Michael, so I want to make an app that tests people's perception of a color difference, but I want to make it a little game. Here's a sketch of what I have in mind. Ooh, very interesting. In case you didn't know, Mr. Rhodes is actually colorblind. Each player takes a turn trying to click on the square that's slightly different in color. You have some questions. +1, -1, if they're right or wrong. How does it end? First to 10, first to get 3 wrong. What else can you do? Generate random color and apply to all squares. One square is randomly chosen to be a slightly different color. And there's an idea. Use buttons and set property function. Do something to indicate whose turn it is. An idea here, maybe show hide a colored box behind the text. Alexis, wow, this is a great sketch. I think I get it. What do you need help with? Michael, well, where should I start? Isn't that always the million-dollar question? Alexis, it seems to me the first thing you probably want to figure out is how to generate the squares of color. Nothing works without that. So tackle that first and worry about scoring and taking turns later. Michael, okay, you're probably right. And I have an idea for how to do that when I notice the set property command in AppLab. Alexis, set property, what's that? Michael, you know how in design mode you can set properties of a button, like its color, width, height, and so on. Well, the set property, you can do the same thing with code. Alexis, I see, cool. And then Michael says, here is a look at the diagram I made. So the next page is going to be a mental model of how the code should run through. Let's go ahead and check it out. How set property works. Set property is the code that lets you set properties of UI elements like color, width, font size, etc., etc., etc. Any property you can set in design mode, you can also set in code using set property. That's pretty much meaning, I think in design mode, how we switch stuff, we can also use some code to do that now. Very, very neat. This goes through how we do it in order. So the first one is you create mode. You can find set property in the UI control toolbox. That's the one we know very well there. 2, choose the idea of the UI element you want to change. Right there, it's a button. The pull-down menu shows a list of properties that you can set for that element. It matches the list of properties that you'll see of the element in design mode. So right here, instead of setting the property width, looks like we can set background color. The last parameter is the value you want to see for that property. We're interested in the background color, which has a variety of values you can give it. So if we click down there, that comes there and just gives us our old friend, the hexadecimal color. Looks like here's some code how to set the background color. There are a number of ways you can specify colors in AppLab. Background color is a string in quotes that represents the color. Typically the string is named the color like red or a hex value like we just saw up there. Here's just an example of it, just background color and our 2 things right there. You can also use RGB function to set the color. The RGB function is a convenient way to compose colors by setting each color channel individually. If you remember, RGB is red, green, blue. The last value, that's alpha or opaque. Number 3, you'll notice that RGB function has 4 parameters for the red, green, blue, and alpha values you want. And the alpha value is a decimal number between 0 and 1 that represents how opaque the color is. Opaque is a fancy word for how transparent it is. As a percentage, 1 means fully opaque, and 0.5 would mean 50%. And here's just how we use that. I remember that all the way back from Unit 3. Hello, old friend. 4, you can omit the alpha value entirely. It will default to 1. And that we just hit the little button down, or when we're doing the code, we'll just delete it. The RGB function actually just returns a color string as well. If we store that value, RGB turns in a variable, then we can simply plug in that variable as a value of set property for several different UI elements if we want to. Below, we will use my color to set the button color and the icon color on the screen. So we have a variable called my color, and we're setting it here, and then it looks like we are calling it down here to our set property. Well, that is pretty cool. Now we get to try it out. So hopefully that breaks down the lesson a little better and what we're going to be doing. We're going to be building this neat little color app as we go through a bunch of different lessons. I'm ready to jump in. I hope you are. So I will see you on number 1. Good luck, kids. I'll see you in the end.